Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle. I am usually the one you guys are talking to in your in the chat or through email if it's me or Mael. I think a couple of you have seen my tutorials as well as the Cedreo Academy. If you have not and you are interested, let me know, and I can send you that link when we are done. I wanted to kind of go over because I've been having a lot of questions asking about the layout step and the options in the layout step, kind of how to set the height of your level. Sometimes people get frustrated because they can't go above 8.2, or you don't know the difference between the level height or the height on the ceiling and then the slab and all those different things. So I wanted to kind of use this as an opportunity to show you the different options for that. And let me pull up my project so I can share my screen. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask in the chat box. Let's try to keep it within the realm of the topic. If we do have some time prior to the end of our session, I'll leave some leeway for people to ask questions beyond what the topic is today. If not, if you are a pro or enterprise user, you can also send us a message in the chat, or you can send us a message at support@cedreo.com. If you are a personal user or a free user, let me know and I can send you the Cedreo Academy link as well. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everybody see my my screen? Ignore my grid. I am using a Mac and I was supposed to update it to fix that and I haven't yet, so it still works, but just ignore the grid. But can everybody see my, it says Shell Modern. You should be able to see that. Okay, great. All right. When you're working in the layout step, there's a number of different options. Originally, when you start, before you lay out any kind of design, the first thing that you're going to see is going to take you to the terrain level, which is where we are right now. And then you're going to have this green trace image option right here. I think a lot of you already know that if you click on that trace image option, upload your blueprints there, it's going to actually put the blueprints on the grid on the terrain. And then when you're going to start drawing, the first thing that's going to happen if you draw exterior wall, interior wall, well, actually, no. If you just hit wall, for this, I know a lot of us are joining the webinar in the US. These options up here, exterior wall, interior wall, wall connections, they're not currently in your US part of the software. So you will have wall, partition wall, and hidden wall. Those will be your three options. So I don't want to confuse anyone. These options are not part of the US software just yet, but just FYI, we're working on things. But when you hit wall, the first thing that it's going to do is going to transfer you here to your ground floor, and you're going to lose your trace image. If you lose your trace image, don't get frustrated. If you come to show settings, you can just check that image right here and it'll be uploaded. I already have an image uploaded in the background, so that's why you still see my image. So just kind of an FYI. All right, working in the right panel of the ground floor and other floors beyond that. Thank you for the compliment. Beyond that, there's a couple of things I want you to look out for. A lot of people focus on the height under the ceiling, which is this tab right here, for the height that they want their walls to be. Now, if you are working on a home and you say, okay, Michelle, my ceiling height is 12 feet, which is what I have here, but how come the level is telling me 13? A lot of people, what they will do, I've seen people, let me zoom in, let's say right here, click on individual walls and lower those walls down to exactly 12 feet because that's what they need. Now, I want you, wherever you're sitting, if you're in a house or you're in a space, from your seat where your foot is, if you look up to the ceiling, that space is what the height under the ceiling is. So that's the height for the height under the ceiling. So that's what that represents, right? So that's 12 feet. So if you need your ceilings to be 12 foot, that is where you're going to put. Now, the reason that you're seeing the level height is 13 feet and 2 inches here is because The wall that is outside or the exterior wall that built that room or that built that space, it's not going to be the same as the height under the ceiling because there's more that goes into covering your space than just the height under the ceiling. Okay. Now let me give you the example. So you're sitting down, your height under the ceiling is 12 feet. Default for our software is 8 feet, 2.5 inches. But as you can see on this project, it is 12 feet. The height outside, or I keep saying outside, but the exterior wall that is in that room, that exterior wall is also counting the ceiling thickness as well as the finished floor thickness, which are these two options right here. So the ceiling thickness, the blue tab, and you can see it right in the right panel, in the diagram right here. And then the finished floor is the yellow one. If you notice in this image, I wish I could blow up this image, but I can't. But the dashed line, that is the wall. The wall is calculating where the yellow line, the finished floor, all the way up to the ceiling thickness. That right there is your level height. So if you were to lower your walls down to 12, then you are leaving a gap in the wall, as you can see right here, because essentially you are telling the software you don't need to consider the ceiling thickness or the slab. So what that means, the ceiling thickness is still going to be the same, the slab is still going to be the same, but the wall, you've lowered the wall. So there's going to create a gap in the space. So I know sometimes there's a confusing because what you need is your height on the ceiling. That's what a lot of people are considering. But the level, which is for this is going to be your ground floor, your level height is considering the ceiling thickness in the finished floor. So it's going to be all like that calculation for the level height is height under the ceiling, ceiling thickness plus ceiling thickness plus finished floor. That gives you what the level height is. So it's actually a formula. It's all of that added together gives you what your level height is. Okay. Does anybody have a question before I continue on? Okay. Now, if the height under the ceiling, let me raise this back up. The height under the ceiling tells the software that is the maximum height of the level, right? Of that room or of the rooms on that level. So the maximum height of all of the rooms on that level is 12 inches. So what happens when I click on this wall, we're back to the kitchen wall, and I want to increase it above what that level height is, which, like I said, is including the ceiling thickness and the floor. It's not going to go beyond that because you have now set the default, or you've set what the highest height of this level is, which is 12. It does not mean you can't go above, right? And that's where some people get stuck because they're like, wait, how come I can't go above 12 when they try to increase one wall? Now, let me show you all right, so let's say if I were to build this structure here. All right, and then you have every single, I'm gonna individually click on these walls. So every single wall except one is going to be 10 feet. And I get this a lot as well. And you say, oh, but Michelle, all of the walls on this level is 10 feet, except this one wall, which is maybe your living room, right? You have vaulted ceilings in the living room, but the living room is, 12 feet. This is what most people's instinct is, right? To lower the height of individual walls to 10 feet, but then keep that vaulted space at 12 feet. This is what's going to happen if you do that. If I were to add the level above, it's going to create a gap in the space. The only thing that's going to be closed will be 12 feet. Why? Because the maximum height of that level is 12 feet. So if you lower the height of the walls to 10 feet, then the software kind of doesn't know what to do. It thinks that you need to leave an opening, because why would you tell me my max, your highest height that you need is 12, but then you're lowering everything else to 10. So that's kind of what the software takes out of that, right? To correct that, so let's say you do need to create 12-foot ceilings in your living room area, but then everywhere else needs to be 10 feet. This is how you're going to do that. Actually, no, I can do it from this diagram over here. I'm going to draw another diagram. This is how you're going to do that. On the ground floor, you're going to set your level height to the ground floor. So something like this is an example where you have some walls that are 10 feet and a section of your house that's 12 feet. And the reason that it's 12 feet is important as well, because the reason that it's 12 feet is because, let's say you have vaulted ceilings. If that's the reason, all right, then the diagram that I'm going to show you, this is how you will create that. If the other reason is because your living room is a step down from everything else, that's another way I'm going to show you how to do that. I think I have another video that kind of goes over, that's what we will consider in our software a split level if it's like a walk down, right? But a lot of people consider that the height of that room or that space, so it kind of gets confusing on how to create the dimensions for it. All right, so then for the ground floor, if every single room on the ground floor is 10 feet, but then your living room is vaulted and your living room is 12 feet. Well, let's say 16 feet, because 12 feet is kind of not big of a vault. Let's say 16 feet. So we're going to draw out, well, actually, no, before I draw it out. Yeah, I can do it since I already have a house on here. All right, you're gonna draw this out, but then you're gonna click on the outside of the house, right? On the outside of the house, not any of the walls, not any of the rooms. Make sure you're not selecting any rooms, anything that's highlighted inside. You're gonna click on the grid. Well, first, let me make sure I am giving you guys 90-degree angles, because it does not look like I am. There we go. All right. You're going to click anywhere outside on the grid. When you click on the grid, what you're doing now is you're adjusting the dimensions of the level, not the room or the wall or the hallway, nothing. You are adjusting the dimensions for that level, right? So I'm clicking on the grid. I make sure nothing is selected. And then in the right panel, I'm actually going to set my level height for, let's say 9 feet, actually, not 10 feet, but 9 feet. Everything's going to go down. So every single wall that I drew now is going to be 9 feet 6 inches, because remember, it's adding the ceiling thickness as well as the finished floor, right? The level height is 10 feet, but wait, hold on. Yep, it's adding the ceiling thickness and the finished floor. Now, when I come up to the first floor, obviously, you're going to draw your first floor. You're going to use the levels as well as your wall, and then you can say duplicate walls. But because I already have a house on here, we're not going to do that. So I'm just going to draw it out. I'm only going to draw walls where I am creating the vaulted ceiling. For now, I will show you beyond that how to do that. This is just a demo. What this does now, remember the level below the walls, the level is set at 9 feet, but I need a section of the house to be 16 feet, right? So this is when you add up both spaces. So you're going to add up the walls that are on this first floor. You're going to add it to the walls that are below. That's how you're going to create your vaulted area, right? Your 16 feet walls. So for now, I have this level set at 8 feet, 2.5 inches. We don't need it exactly at 8 feet. We need, let me go down to the inches. So I need 7 feet. So I'm going to click out here. I'm going to lower this to 7 feet. These two walls right now will act as one. So this area is going to be where your 16 feet walls are, because down here is 9 feet. Up here is 7 feet. So this is a 16 feet wall. Now to create that vaulted look, you're going to click in the space that you've created up, on the first floor. And then in the right panel, you're going to uncheck the ground, uncheck the baseboard. Then when you go downstairs, you see how you see the red trace? You're actually now going to use hidden walls to section out the space. So let's say like we're doing the vaulted ceilings in the living room, a 16 feet ceilings in the living room. You're sectioning out the space. And the reason that you're doing this, I'm going to uncheck the magnetism. The reason that you're doing this is because you want to remove the ceiling on the floor below because you're looking up at the vault. So you come here. Then I'm going to click in here and I'm going to uncheck. Mind you, I'm on the ground floor. I'm not on the top floor. The top floor, I've already removed the floor. I've already removed the ground and I've already removed the baseboard. The ground floor, I've sectioned it out using hidden walls. And I want to make sure it kind of coincides with the walls. So I'm going to make sure so that way it's seamless. All right. Click in here. I'm going to uncheck the ceiling. So you see from the floor below, there's no ceiling, but now this living room area is serving as your 16 feet walls. Instead of you lowering the height of all of the walls on the ground floor, you are adding the levels above, the walls for the level above and below to give you the 16 feet ceilings, right? Now, let's say you say, oh, but Michelle, then how do I close out the rest of my space? You can do it a couple of different ways, right? To close out the rest of your space, you can actually come back up and you can draw exterior walls. To close out the space. Let me activate my magnetism again. And then we're going to add the roof. Let me just use this. All right. But then when we come inside from the ground floor, actually on the roof level, how did I get an extra? Oh, because I have another house on here. Sorry. On the ground floor, if I come in, you see that my ground floor height is still what it was for that level. But then this living room area that is vaulted, it's like a vault all the way up to the ceiling. You see that? And then on the outside, obviously, you have your roof here. And you can, as you adjust your roof, it lowers the base height to give you, if you don't want a tall roof, you can lower the slope. But it doesn't change the fact that you do have this first floor level that is still 7 foot. So you have your vaulted ceiling, or you have your 16-foot ceilings here. Now, okay, before I go on to the next one, does anybody have any questions? No questions? Okay, great. All right. Now, let's say I'm going to just deactivate this roof for now. Let's say you are saying, okay, but your idea of 16-foot ceilings is, or 16-foot walls or something taller than what the standard is because you have to step down into the living room versus having the vaulted ceiling. This is when you want to pay attention to your finished floor or your slab thickness. One of the biggest complaints that I also get is when you've added your front door or your garage to your design, it's usually not all the way down to the ground. And this is what I mean. I'm not going to go too much into this because that's not what we're focused on right now. But I think this is just kind of. So this is what I mean. It doesn't go all the way to the ground, which is, for some people, it's not very realistic because you want it to go all the way to the ground. That is because this space right here, down here, this is your slab thickness, right? Now, to adjust the slab thickness, you're not just going to click in the room to lower it, because you're trying to lower the slab thickness is what's set for the whole floor. You're going to actually click the same thing. You're going to click outside, make sure you're on your ground floor or what floor that you're on. You're going to click outside of that floor. And now this is when you can adjust your slab thickness. You can lower it down to 0. It brings your front door or your garage door down. But you still have a floor inside, right? And then this is when you have a couple of different options. Once you do that, inside, you'll use your hidden walls to differentiate the space. If you have an open floor plan that one space is higher or lower than the rest. So let's say the hidden wall is cut off. Actually, let's go back to where we added this hidden wall here for your living room. All right. So this hidden wall, to make sure that it's actually set into to create a room, you have a room number and a living area square footage in here. And then it'll be enclosed. If it's not, let's say if I was to delete this and add another wall, but the wall kind of almost closes. From the outside, it looks like you have you created the space, but for some reason you don't see your room number or your square footage. That's because it's not fully enclosed. Always do not be afraid to zoom. This is why I always recommend having a mouse with a rolling pin. Apple mouse does not work for us, and the trackpad is not a good idea either. Zoom in and just click on this dot and enclose your space. And now you have your room number in your living area space. Click in that space that you have created. You're able to adjust your finished floor for that space. You can increase it. If everything else in the house is lower and that other space is higher, you can increase it. Or on the flip side, the other thing you can do for that is click on the outside of your plan, because the slab thickness is not going to go below 0. So what you can do is you can keep it at the default at 8. Oh, I made it 8 feet instead of 8 inches. All right. And then go back to this room. Click in the room that you've created with the hidden wall. And now you're able to lower the slab thickness for that room. It's kind of like a step down. So what I like to do is to at least to show a good difference is I'm going to click on the outside and I'm going to lower my slab thickness. Actually, I'm going to give it maybe 10. Keep putting feet. All right. So slab thickness is 10. But then in this room, the finished floor, is the camera not? There we go. There we go. So now you have your step down, because everything else is higher than in here. So it's better to see if I were to change the material. And obviously, you can create, the step down, you can add another step using a shape, or you can add steps using the furnishing step to create the difference. Does anybody have any questions about using your dimensions in the right panel in your layout step? Yes, Katie, this will be sent to you. So everybody that signed up for the class, a copy of this webinar will be sent to you. And then you can also access our webinars in the knowledge base. You can access the webinar in the knowledge base. If you don't have the link for the knowledge base, you can come here and this question mark right here. This gives you the different folders for the knowledge base. You can just click on any one and it'll open up a separate tab. Scroll all the way to the bottom where you see webinar, and this will be uploaded in like 24 to 48 hours. So all of our old webinars are still in there. I had another question. The slope ceiling. So once you add in our software, once you add your ceiling, once you add, you're ready to add the roof. All of our roofs need its own level with exterior walls for the roof support. That is just, if your house has one level, you still need to add a second level, trace out the exterior walls, and then add the roof on there. And the reason you're doing that is once you add the roof, it automatically gives you your sloped, it automatically gives you the slope. Now if it's vaulted, it will give you a sloped ceiling. So if I add this back in here, and if I come in, you see that it's automatically sloping, right? Because once I already added those walls, if I delete this roof, you will see the walls are just basic rectangular straight walls. So you don't have to slope them. But once the roof is added in there, it automatically slopes. So I'll come back to where I already added walls in here. So it slopes down. Now, this area right here, obviously it's set in the middle of the ridge. So this is not sloped, but this is just giving you an example of creating that. A vaulted slope ceiling. Okay, there you go. All right, we have a couple more minutes. Anybody want me to go over anything that's quick? The roof step is not very quick, but anybody wants me to go over anything that's quick that I didn't cover? It could be something I did not cover in the layout step for the dimensions, or it could be something else. Okay, well, don't have any questions on that. This will be emailed to you. And like I said, if you are a professional or enterprise user and you will let's say you wanted to set up a session, because as a professional enterprise user, you have access to one-on-one support with me, one-on-one trainings with me, send me an email and I will send you my calendar link to schedule a session with me. If you are personal, or let's say a free user is on here as well, you can send me a message or send a message in the chat and I will send you our Cedreo Academy as well. When will the new update be out for US users? That is hard to tell when the update will be out. We are still working on a few things for our US software to be added. This is just something this is our testing environment. Well, no, this is not our testing environment. This is our own individual environment. And when you see certain things that's added on there, they added for us to test it out prior to releasing it, right? So this is for me to test out prior to releasing it. We don't have a release date yet. It's not something I can share with you. But we will make an announcement. And if you look on your dashboard in the left panel, you see the news tab. Always check the news tab because we keep our announcements of what feature is being released or when it's going to be released. And most times, if there's a new feature release, I set up a webinar to kind of go over it with users as well. So look out for that as well. But we do have some exciting things for you guys. But yes, any more questions anybody has for me since I'm on? Okay. So this is going to be sent to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it today. And I hope I was clear, because I know sometimes our dimensions and stuff gets a little bit confusing. But don't be confused. Just, remember that we have all of our tutorials in the right panel. So as you're working, it's here that you can access them. It'll take you to a separate page. And every single section, for those of you, I think a lot of you on the call right now or on the webinar right now are fairly experienced with the software, which bravo to you. But if you are new, and you just always remember every single section has a list of a bunch of customizations in the right panel. So if you click on this wall, it'll give you customization for that specific, wall. If you click on this room, it'll give you customizations for that room. If you don't click on anything, it'll give you customizations for the level. And that's for every single section. So down to the furnishing, you click on the furnishing, you have customizations in the right panel. So always keep that in mind. All right, we are done for the day. Look out for the replay of this. It's going to be sent to you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. You have a good day.